Everyone's going to be very confused right now.
Robert, I'm looking out my window and I'm seeing a lot of fireworks going off in the sky, and it's
Where
like,
are you?
I'm in Orlando area. What the hell is that?
Maybe
This is
Disney. Sometimes Disney does fireworks all the time.
yeah, but we're
Oh,
I think
St.
we're-
Patty's Day. It's a St. Patty's
oh,
Day thing.
we're a fair distance off. I'm just like, oh, we didn't get a balcony.
You know,
but we
I'll be
got it.
getting some because I live in a Mexican neighborhood, and you wouldn't think that connects to St. Patty's Day. If there's any excuse at all, they set off fireworks all the time. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Where are we? Where are we?
Bring it.
Boy,
Okay. Booyah. I'm going to back into his car. That'll really mess everybody up for the vacation. Hold on a second. Let's hear the noise. Do it. Do it. Do the noise. Do the thing. Say the word. Say the word. Okay, so the rumor is that llamas spit.
Look how much poo there is.
That's actually a lot of poo. That's poo right there. You made a lot of poo. There you go. Oh hey. How you doing? Yeah, it's my phone. There's no food there. What is this?
Okay, we're good. That's the lectern guy right there.
Is it fun, Adam?
Letting everyone trickle in. It's Easter Sunday. We don't have to start off with things that make us want to gag. I can check audio levels while I do this, see that everything's good. Let me just go.
All right, we're kayaking down a river.
Am I on
in
mute?
Florida, and there's manatees in this river apparently. The river is a constant 72 degrees. I forget. It's so clear. It's outrageous. We're going to see manatees. Got behind me the family, and in the distance there, the lectern guy, Adam Johnson. And this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Hold on, check this out.
All right, now we're not going to play the entire
This is
video.
the most amazing thing.
Now that I
I've
know
ever
that we
seen.
are live
You see
across
fish?
all platforms.
Where? Are they big?
Throw in a little cheesy vlog music, and you have
fish.
bada bing,
Oh
bada
my
boom, a vlog.
goodness. Those are carp.
Those
You've
were
done this
carp.
before? You don't mind being in a video?
No, I don't.
This is going to be a vlog. This is going to be, what's this river called?
We are at Wikiwachi Springs.
Wikiwachi Springs. Wikiwachi.
Many of you have seen this
Wikiwachi.
already.
That's not the right show. That's Kikiwaka.
Kikiwaka.
I should have put some suntan lotion on my disgusting legs.
Look at those
This is a T-bone.
disgusting
This is a
legs.
T-bone. Boom! Paddle faster.
All right, we've had enough of the goodness, people. Now let's get into the crap. I'm joking. Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, Easter Sunday, or as many now know it, Trans Visibility Day. All right, there's a scandal brewing. I put out a quick vlog before, sort of like the advertising for the evening show. I don't know if everybody saw that. I was going to start the stream off with that vlog, which was me in my office 40 minutes ago. Trans Visibility Day, as if what's lacking is visibility for the trans community. I might have to pull up Justin Trudeau, incapable of saying 2S LGBTQIA+, because, you know, it just rolls off the tongue. I don't know. Do you say Happy Easter or do you say have a meaningful Easter? It's supposed to be a spiritually important holiday, but not necessarily like, you know, Happy Hanukkah. You're not spinning dreidels and exchanging gifts. You're celebrating a solemn occasion. So meaningful Easter to everyone who's celebrating, and Jesus Visibility Day. That's what is going around. And if you're not celebrating it, welcome to the show. It's Sunday night, people. Let's get the law on. Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida Rumbler, with our Sunday night guest. My partner in crime, Robert Barnes, will be here shortly. Viva Fry, when is Democrats are demons Day? I got a joke there that I probably shouldn't say. Look, we started with something nice. That was a family vlog of us exploring the West Coast. Look at that typo, a lot of typos there. We went to the Gulf Coast, Weeki-Wachee River, saw manatees. It was beautiful. If you want to watch that, the link is there. I've got a Viva family YouTube channel, but a Viva random Rumble channel, and I forgot to put this one to the random channel. I put it to the Viva Fry on Rumble. That was to cleanse our palates, to remember that there are, still beautiful things in this upside down world. Am I a Messianic Jew? I don't know what that means, so I'm going to have to go out on a limb and say no. I'm going to have to Google that in about 2 seconds. We're going to start with now we're going to get into, okay, some fun stuff. It's still fun, and it's still a good way to start a show. Yesterday, they seem to be picking on Nancy Mace. I dare say, if I were thinking along the lines of identity politics, first you got George Stephanopoulos. I was going to say George Papadopoulos. No, what's his name? Stephanopoulos. Is his first name George? Stephanopoulos, that jackass ass. I'm not going to swear yet. That jackass Jackanini, shaming. And yes, he was in fact shaming Nancy Mace when she was saying, I still support Trump. And he says, well, how can you support Trump if he's been convicted of rape? And then she's like, he hasn't. And now George Stephanopoulos and NBC News are being sued for defamation by Trump. They seem to be picking on her. And this is another example. We'll play this video, and then we're going to play my facts, my evidence as to why this is no longer community noted as it once was. Let's hear what Nancy Mace has to say.
You're seeing, since Joe Biden took office, crime skyrocket all around the country. And especially in big cities, you see illegal immigrants coming in, beating up our cops and being
factually correct
out without bail, let out of jail without bail, giving
that man was not
America and our men in blue.
Just to pause it there. That man, it turns out, was not one of the illegal immigrants who was beating the police officer. He was let go, and that's why he's flipping the bird to his newly, the country where he's seeking asylum from. Asylum. It's all asylum now, by the way. There's no such thing as illegal immigration. All you have to say is the magic word asylum, as if falsely claiming asylum is not itself an additional crime, but whatever. So that man was not one of the illegals who actually beat up New York police officers who were let out with minimal to no bail and then given tickets to California, whatever. Okay. Violence is high, is what she's saying.
Men and women in blue and in uniform. You're seeing crime skyrocket. You're seeing fentanyl cases skyrocket. We're letting China, we're literally allowing China to import deadly drugs like fentanyl into this country, and it's killing our children and killing our citizens. We're allowing Joe Biden to have the cartel sneak drugs into the country, smuggle people into the country.
She's
illegally.
right.
Like, it's just okay to do that under Joe Biden. It's not okay. We're a nation of laws and should follow them.
Yeah, well, apparently not. So that post got community noted. It got you have to understand what she's saying. Like, at some point in time, community notes are being used to exploit the monopoly they have to argue with people with whom they disagree. Some of these statements is it intended to be 1000% factually accurate, an all-time high? Does that mean it has to be at this very moment the highest ever? Under Biden, beginning with the summer of love, we'll see. So she makes that statement. This thing got community noted. Let me bring this down and then bring up where I was getting into it. It got community noted, and I said, and here's where we're going to get the first cuss word of the night. This community note is bullshit. It plummeted, quote, this is the media comes out and says, oh, I didn't screen grab the community note, but it said, no, crime is plummeted under Biden. And I said it plummeted under Biden after spiking under Biden, with the exception of 2020 summer of love, which I still attribute to Democrat political forces, without a question. And then you look at these stats, like, look at this. These are the stats. By the way, data is estimated. You know what that means? Liars figure and figures lie. Oh, look at how much it went down in 2023. If you just chart that line, it's still at a 20-year virtual high. And that's if you believe the stats, which I don't. What was the next one? Oh, here, homicide. Look at this. Yeah, look, this graph is from 1990. Homicide in this current year, 2022, is higher than it has ever been since 1998, give or take. And yet they want to fact check her and put a community note and say, no, it's not true. It's lower now than it was last year. Big effing deal. That's if you believe the numbers, which I don't. And then what happens? You get Aaron Rupar coming out and saying, why is the community note taken down? Well, I'll tell you why the community note was taken down. Aaron Rupar. Oh, yeah, by the way, people rightly pointing out a number of things as relates to how you calculate, how you assess the data. Astral Doge plays. There was a change in how agencies report their stats to the FBI. I believe many use software that produce old UCR stats and haven't updated software to newer NIBRS stats, causing a lot of unintentional misreporting because all had to switch to NIBRS for 2023 stats. That's one observation. Another observation as to how you know that we're being lied to in real time. The FBI demanded cities send in their data in a very specific way, and any city that does not comply does not have their crime statistics put into the national numbers. This is from Call Vincent 2023. I don't know who these people are, but I interact with the community on Twitter and pick the big brains of our locals community. Many big cities, including New York City, are no longer counted in the crime stats, so of course the numbers are down. If you think I am wrong, try to locate the FBI data broken down by state. Well, I remember once upon a time the FBI stopped breaking down data by race, because I guess the stats it was yielding were too politically incorrect. But then we got Aaron T. Rupar. Look at this guy. Does everybody know? Everybody has to know by now, because I like to make fun of it. What Aaron Rupar's Urban Dictionary definition is? Like, he's lived such a life. He's now literally a term in the Urban Dictionary. He says this tweet yesterday had a community note with the FBI stats debunking Mesa's lie. Now it's gone. What gives? Maybe I think community notes are being gamed regardless. And maybe this is the reverse gaming where big accounts, big bullhorns put a little blast on the bullshit. Maybe that's what gives. You know what else probably gives? It was a bullcrap community note in the first place. Weaponized community notes so that they can try to demonize and say, it wasn't a lie, Aaron Rupar. Record level fentanyl deaths. Why? Because China is importing its fentanyl from an open southern border. I was making not the joke the other day. Like, I conceptually said, yeah, China is importing fentanyl through an open southern border and killing a generation of Americans. China is also importing digital fentanyl via TikTok to distort a generation of Americans, make them think that they're boys and when they're girls, and girls when they're boys, and they have to take puberty blockers and mess up their genitals. Like physical fentanyl via the southern border and digital fentanyl via TikTok. And then I just had to point out, in case anybody didn't know, what Aaron T. Rupar's. Oh, look at this! They're really going hard on. They're really going hard on Nancy Mace. It's actually unbelievable to watch it in real time. And as I just refresh, and I guess, Twitter has determined that I'm interacting with tweets that are debunking this. Here, Rolling Stone. The Rolling Stone liars. The liars who lied about the Duke Lacrosse rape scandal. Data from the FBI shows that crime decreased significantly in 2023. Oh, good. Inflation decreased significantly. Does that not mean it skyrocketed under Biden? Decreased from when? 2022 under Biden. So it's not anything incorrect at all, you pathological liars. In fact, when Rolling Stone says it's not true, it is. When Rolling Stone says it is true, it's not. Which is why when Rolling Stone came out last week and said, what did they say? Oh, yes, that the Baltimore bridge disaster conspiracy theories are afoot. Then I'm like, oh, shit. Now I'm going to start thinking about the conspiracy theories. But Aaron Rupar Urban Dictionary. Does everybody know this? I've showed it many times. Well, one more time. Rupar. A lying sack of who deceives people for a living in the name of his political ideology. Every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. Aaron Rupar, Mazel Tov. Oh, Lordy. All right. So good evening, everybody. This is the way it works. We start on YouTube, Rumble, and vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Let me see that we're good. We're good on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Have I pinned the link to Rumble in the chat in YouTube? I don't think I did. I think I actually pinned vivabarneslaw.locals.com. So now that everyone's had a chance to go to Locals if they so choose, here's the link to Rumble. We start on all three platforms. Then we end on CommuTube. Replace the pin com. We end on CommuTube and we go over to Free Speech Rumble. Then when the stream is over, we go over to our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community and we answer tipped questions of $5 and more and have our exclusive after party there to thank our locals community for the support and allowing us to do what it is that we do. Thank you all very much for everything sincerely. Oh, yeah, that's right. When you came into the stream, you might have seen something that says this stream contains a paid promotion. Because it does, people. Look, at the end of the day, it's very difficult to go wrong with gold. And as the central bank digital currency is coming in and can replace your dollars with digital currency, nothing wrong with having a little gold. Don't hide it in your cavity, because I'm told that that's the first place they look. Central digital bank digital currency, if it comes in, is going to involve surveillance of our lives, freezing of our assets, and government control over our bank accounts and how we spend our money. If you want real life how this works out, look at Canada and Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and what they did up there. Americans who want to protect their liberty and privacy need to prepare themselves for what's to come. That's why many Americans are turning to physical gold and silver to diversify their wealth. If you want to protect your retirement, recommend you request your free investment guide from our friends at Preserve Gold today. They'll explain the right options for you and help with the process to get either physical gold or silver. It's a lot more fun to own silver because it's a little bit cheaper price point, so you can own bigger pieces of it and feel like, a Roman king or something, but it's a fraction of the price. You can get physical gold or silver or roll over your IRA 401k into a qualified retirement account. It's easy. They are BBB accredited, zero consumer complaints, and hundreds of satisfied clients. They're also founding members of the Precious Metals Association, so you know you're in good hands. And it's an exclusive offer for all of our viewers here. They'll give you up to $10,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying purchase or retirement account rollover. They'll even throw in an immediate $500 account credit if you request your investor guide today. Go to preservegold.com/Viva to get your free gold and silver investment guide and take your first step towards protecting your wealth. Again, preservegold.com/Viva. Get your free guide. And look, the video stopped. It's not idolatry when it's an investment. And so long as you don't build a golden calf to this gold overlord, it's an investment, treated as such. Bear in mind that if you ever decide to flee the country and cross the border, I think it's $10,000 limits of gold. So that would be like 4 ounces of gold that you'd be allowed to take legally. And I would not recommend swallowing it. You get stuck in front of a magnet. Well, no, gold is not magnetic, so that wouldn't happen. Whatever, I'm trying to make a joke. But yeah, that's it. preservegold.com/Viva. And before we get too far behind, Cheryl Gage, happy Easter Sunday, everyone at home today, watching the grandkids run around. It's a beautiful thing. We had another long weekend with the kids. My goodness, it's the long days when you try to keep 3 kids entertained. Dylan Killen, while it isn't Hanukkah, Easter is the day that Christ defeated death, proved himself the Savior, and gave us our option of salvation. It's a happy day. Okay, well then, happy Easter to everyone celebrating. And last one before we get into Ryan Baudouin. Yeah. The Fed and state governments manipulated crime data numbers by selecting the wrong ethnicity for perpetrators of crime. Black and Hispanics clear as the eye can see, marked as white to skew the numbers. Well, we've certainly seen it happen a few times. And if it's happened once, it's happened more than once. All right, now with that said, I will catch up with the Rumble rants in a bit. I see Barnes and he's looking dapper. Robert, incoming 3, 2, 1. Sir, how goes the battle?
Good.
Yeah, you're looking good, young, and rested. Are you feeling good?
Relatively, yeah. The March Madness has been very profitable so far. The European soccer was brutal today. I think Jesus doesn't like it if you bet European soccer on Easter. But according to the Biden administration, this is actually not Happy Easter Day. This is Happy Trans Recognition Day. And I had a solution for all this. I thought was pretty simple. We just moved Trans Day one day, right? And so instead of today, it's tomorrow, which is April 1st.
Well, so it is March. They declared it on March 31st. It's been March 31st since 2009, but it was only this year that Biden came out and declared it formally. So
it should really be April Fool's Day. It really should. That's just been, surprise, surprise, crying game,
All right, and now YouTube's going to cut the transmission, Robert. We have crossed the line. Sir, what's the book behind you and what's the cigar in your hands?
Unruly Americans, great book about the true founders of the American Constitution, which were ordinary, everyday people that made it happen in the first place, and how it was their ideas, much more so than the ideas of elites, that shaped our constitutional liberties that are currently being eviscerated by those same elites today, and usually in black robes and with wooden gavels. So it's a great book, on the constitutional history and a broader understanding of original interpretation. The Ben Shapiro's of the world would limit and restrict that to just what other elites thought. That's not what actually made the Constitution come about in the first place, because the Bill of Rights wasn't included in the original Constitution. But a bunch of folks named Barnes in Rhode Island voted against it until it included the Bill of Rights, because ordinary people, unruly Americans, made it happen in the first place.
And the cigar?
My father, mi padre.
And Robert, do you know what the pattern of your tie is? I don't know why I know this.
I don't know.
It's called paisley. And
oh yeah, it's a paisley tie. Yeah, I knew that. I thought you were thinking like it was like some art drawing I didn't know about.
No, but like, what is it? I have to Google the origin of the word. What does paisley mean? It's got to be British.
I have
what
no
was
idea.
I'm going to look that up while we talk
Sounds
about it.
kind of French.
Robert, what do we have on the menu for tonight? And before we get started,
yeah, the top two voted matters on the board. The number one, of course, always no favorites, but the other two were all of the Trump cases and the election cases that came out this week. We have up first Trump. We have the New York trial court. There's judicial conflict issues, unconstitutional gag orders now being instituted. We have the bond appeal getting partially granted. We have the Georgia appeal now up on the RICO charge. We got a January 6th judge who thinks, like the Georgia judge, he should just run around doing interviews with people in the press, but that patently violates ethics. But it tells you about the D.C. and our federal court system. They think they are above the law. They think they are the law. Then we have RFK had announced his vice presidential pick, and the Democratic Party is waging a war to keep him off the ballot, which should clue people into what the Democratic Party thinks, who he poses the most risk to. The FBI has a new red flag center set up using the funds that Speaker Johnson just pushed through foolishly in the House. Meet the new speaker, same as the old speaker. We got a update on Amos Miller. We got Coinbase against the SEC. That's an area more people should follow because of the broader impact of what's taken place there. Kari Lake development in her defamation case.
Yeah, that's very curious about that.
The election cases in Pennsylvania and Michigan. We got the Supreme Court discussing when you can sue the FDA, which I might have a rooting interest in the outcome of that case, of course. Owen Shroyer against the IRS, white pill of the week. And last but not least, we have all of the legal matters around Steven Crowder. It manages to touch, I don't care about the social media drama, though there's been a lot of it, but we've seen a lot of amateur lawyers, including not gay Jared, who, when it comes to the law, seems kind of gay.
That's a double whammy, Barth. We're done.
Yeah, exactly. But what's intriguing about the case is a great opportunity to educate the public on the law, because the Crowder-related cases concern what is the legality of non-competes, what is the legality of non-disclosure agreements, what is the legality of and constitutionality of discovery. When do your privacy interests come into play? When do your constitutional interest in speech impact either non-disclosure or non-compete, depending on its terms? All of the debate surrounding what's going on in family courts, perceptions that it's biased towards one gender or the other, or biased on behalf of one economic privilege situation or another. Is the legal system as a whole, as Lauren Southern stated, biased in favor of those with means? In the whole cultural debate about the nature of whether divorce is facilitating and undermining marriage in America, and in particular undermining men's interest, as a good number of people believe, but is broadly contested. Last but not least, what some people that are connected to Steven Crowder's ex-wife's team and not gay Jared might want to read about is how the definition of extortion law, because it sounds, remember folks, never in writing, always in cash. They apparently have violated that rule, and consequently might be running afoul of even criminal laws in Texas.
Well, you know what? Can we just start with that one, and then we'll move on to YouTube? We'll move out of YouTube afterwards. So for those who haven't seen this, I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there who has not heard about this. What's fun is I'm not getting too far into it. I don't like what is not juvenile drama, but there's a lot of family stuff in here, marriages, and it's gossipy. There's a little bit of element of law, but I've been listening to Tim Pool assess on this. I've reading through it. I went to the other side and went to Anna Kasparian to see how the left reports on this. And it's like it's interesting because there's left and right, and then there's people who are in the middle.
Lauren Southern on one side, Ariana Jacob on another side. So you got a broad range of disputes, and you have people who have different life experience that's influencing them. People that have experienced what Crowder's experienced, people that have experienced what Jared has experienced as an employee, people who have experienced what Crowder's ex-wife have experienced. And you're seeing a lot of those experiences shape a lot of their perception based on their own life experiences, different experience with the law. People like Lauren Southern that have seen that if you don't have means, you often don't have means of access to the legal system. That shapes one of their perspective. That's part of what 1776lawcenter.com is all about, trying to equalize access in areas to the law and to the court of public opinion in areas where people often don't have that access, supporting cases like the Covington kids, like Kyle Rittenhouse, like Amos Miller, like Brooke Jackson, and the like. 1776 Law Center. You can go there and get all the information about a lot of those cases. And if you want to support it, you can support it as well. There's a bunch of merch up, and there'll be more merch up. And maybe I'll start putting up a shirt that definitely both Jared and the ex-wife's legal team could have used, which is never in writing, always in cash, because they violated it.
So we'll back it up. I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs and the details, but not gay. Is it not gay or half gay, Jared? And I'm not trying to be funny.
It was not gay, Jared. No, that's you're thinking a quarter black,
the quarter Asian lawyer. Okay, so
half Asian lawyer. There's half Asian lawyer, quarter black. There's a whole bunch of political.
Not gay, Jared stopped working for Crowder, give or take. I'll say 4 or 5 years ago. As he left, he signed what he begrudgingly concedes now was a duly signed, but the contents we don't know, NDA. He signed a non-compete, and it seems that he's been
signed a non-compete previously as his initial part of his employment, and negotiated a modification of that in exchange for giving a full well, he probably had the non-disclosure agreement from the get-go too.
So non-disclosure, non-compete, meaning that when you cease working, if it ever comes to an end, depending on how it comes to an end, if you get fired, they can't avail themselves of the non-compete. You can't compete in the same industry, typically geographically limited, temporally limited. I think now 2 years is give or take the standard. By the sounds of it, Robert, it looked like he was globally enjoined from working in the entertainment industry. I don't know that we know the details definitively yet. And then he alleges that Crowder was using lawfare to silence and abuse him since he left. It turns out that maybe, at least based on some written documents,
in writing, never in writing, folks, never in writing. Don't put your extortion plans in an email or text.
I'm going to try to. I'm not going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to try to steelman this. It seems that there's an email saying, "Look, we know what we're allowed to get under the letter of the law in Texas family law. We want more than that, so we're going to put on a public campaign, a public pressure camp, or a pressure campaign to get Crowder."
That line between litigation strategy and extortion,
and that's the question.
He really crossed that line a couple of times. They were trying to extort Steven Crowder, is what it looks like.
And it looks like you had the ex-employee colluding with his wife in the context of a divorce. Yep. One can ask questions there to extort Steven Crowder. That is not the
but if you ask questions there like the quartering does, not gay Jared, totally against lawfare, will start threatening lawsuits against you, because apparently in between not understanding non-competes, not understanding non-disclosure agreements, not understanding extortion, he doesn't understand defamation law. He was threatening with the quartering. If you suggest what you seem to be suggesting, which by the way, he wasn't suggesting. I watched the video. I had no idea that
he's suggesting having sex with Steven Crowder's ex-wife.
Yeah. And quartering, they did no such thing. And it's like, man, that's protest too much. I mean, I initially thought there was a zero credibility to that. And then I was like, now you're making me wonder. You're drawing more attention to this than other people. But that guy's like a running library of bad legal opinions, bad legal takes.
Straight to making it public.
A little gay when it comes to the law.
Straight to public, public statements in writing, raising money for his legal defense. Hold on, and we're gonna get to the Hillary destroying the evidence. A while back, there was that clip that was shared that
we called it again. By the way, remember when that was first aired? I said I was very skeptical of that clip for two reasons. One, I've represented more victims of domestic abuse than almost anybody out there. So I'm intimately well aware of what that legal landscape and evidentiary landscape looks like. And I was like, the only big inflammatory piece you have on Steven Crowder is a clip out of a bad argument. Every relationship, if we took all of our relationships across America, I guarantee you all of us said something stupid at some point along the way. That's called human nature, unless you're just not human or you don't really care. And I was like, that's your best evidence? That means you don't have an abusive relationship at all. That's all you could find. And second thing, people go back and find it. What I predicted is the context of all the other clips would tell a different story, or watch to see if that disappears. And what's happened? All the ex-wife apparently has lost all the other clips, all the other video stuff. She was doing the new special computer for extortionists and criminals. And one of them is, instead of saying delete, it just says Hillary delete, Hillary delete, Hillary delete, Hillary delete. Apparently, and she has the same name.
I was going to say, wonder if she used bleach bit. I'll bring this up. It's a fair point. Crowder loves restrictive contracts for his employees, but not for him.
Yeah, and we can get into the business side of it, the politics side of it. It's because there's the law side, which is different than the business and politics, and people are conflating the two. People are saying, I don't like what this idea of a non-compete, or some people are saying they totally embrace non-competes. And the law is much more balanced than that. It doesn't fully defend non-competes. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if his non-competes are way too broad, which make them high risk, by the way.
Under American law, it's the same principles under Canadian. Like, you don't get to segment out the piece that was overbroad.
And over the last 15 years, non-competes often do not get affirmed in court. I've dealt with people in the Hollywood and entertainment industry, and the short answer is a non-compete. The logic from the employer is, I'm going to invest a bunch of capital in you. I'm going to help create your public image, or I'm going to give you access to our methods, our sources, our training, our intellectual property, all of that. But in the entertainment industry, I'm giving you access to build your own market, build your own audience. And I want to know that I'm investing that for the benefit of me, the employer, not for your benefit, to our exclusion. And that's the logic of a non-compete. From the employee perspective, it's, hey, I just want a job, and if this isn't working out, I don't want to be prohibited from doing what my skill is. So that's where you get the political gap between the employee-employer perspective. But the law has been increasingly hostile. The law disfavors, in Texas even more so. They even have constitutional provisions on this that can be applicable. And I would argue U.S. constitutional can apply in certain instances. But again, they would only apply to a court enforcing it. Doesn't imply, not Gay Jared and even Lauren Southern and some others were suggesting somehow this could be unconstitutional, what a private employer does. That has nothing to do with the state at all. The Constitution doesn't apply there, folks. So the Constitution only applies when there's coercion or collusion with the state, like in the social media censorship context. It doesn't apply to just a private employer. So it's politically, rhetorically effective to say this is a free speech battle. Sorry, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with free speech. Not Gay Jared. It's one of the
people mean it legal takes. No, they mean colloquially. I'm lowering my volume a little bit because people said you were a little low, and I'm not going to bring you up, Robert. So now you guys can turn your volume up. But no, typically it's what, 2 years is what's generally accepted and geographically limited, so you don't have a global non-compete.
And not only that, it often has to be real specific. And that was what courts increasingly do, because they really disfavor. Like, if Crowder's non-competes are really broad, he's at high risk, because what more courts are doing, here's what used to happen. If you were a contract lawyer, your incentive was to make it as broad as possible. The employee was often less legally sophisticated than the employer, would often go along with it without recognizing what their legal rights were. And even if they challenged it or contested it in court, the court would just limit it, would sort of blue pencil it to give it what its legal permissive scope was. And so you had no downside as an employer to a really broad non-compete. Courts started realizing that was problematic, because all it did is it created it distorted incentives. So what they often do now is if your non-compete is too broad, they strike the whole thing. They don't give you any non-compete. So if Crowder's lawyers have written too broad a non-competes, they better reconsider that crafting and drafting. We don't know. Now, usually these days, it really has to be specific to the capital you invested in the individual. So for example, if you're a shoe salesman, it's limited in a particular market. They can limit you to 2 years for selling shoes, but even then it can be limited even further in terms of what's permissive. And if it's too broad, they just strike the whole thing. So non-competes are, first, they are industry standard practice, particularly here, right? Crowder's investing his capital, his asset, his platform in making someone else a star. And in that capacity, doesn't want to have spent all of his money for just someone else's profit. But there's limits to that. And so it should be directly, in other words, you can't be the not gay Jared character on another show for 2 years in this same space, not the entire entertainment industry, right? If it said the entire entertainment industry, that's going to be struck down as illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And then no aspect of the non-compete would be enforceable. He says he spoke to a lawyer, and it makes me doubt that the non-compete is as broad as some people are trying to imply, because it sounded like when he talked to his lawyer, the conclusion was the non-compete would likely be enforced. So unless he got his lawyers from, lawyersareus.com, then, which is possible with this guy, given some of his legal takes, then the non-compete must not be as broad as he's trying to imply that it is, or he got really bad legal advice.
Now, what Jared got, he's claiming he got some Form 202, which is calling him to provide documents in the context of another litigation.
Texas petition. So there's different ways to do it internationally. There's certain letters you can request, for example, for discovery through foreign governments. Basically, this allows you not to sue someone, but to seek discovery from them when they have relevant information to another potential legal claim. And so in particular, it looks like their focal point on him wasn't really him. It appears the focal point was proving the case against the ex. There's 2 cases involving between Crowder and his ex-wife. There's the family court case, divorce case, and a separate lawsuit involving her family, and her legal team and others to engage in a conspiracy to extort him using a sort of a public smear campaign. That apparently people like Candace Owens are happy to jump on the train of. Okay, Candace apparently doesn't like non-disclosure agreements. I wonder if she has any with anybody, but leave that for another day, shall we? But that's what it appears to me, and it's what I suggested at the time, because the timing of the release of that video, the limit, it's what wasn't there. That's what we talked about at the time. Look at what's not there, not what is there, and that screamed they're planning on an extortion campaign. They're planning on a public smear campaign to extort Crowder to give them more money than they're legally entitled to. And these nitwits said so in writing. They actually said right in writing. And some of her lawyers, Laura Southern, seemed to think her lawyer was some poor schmuck down the street and she could barely afford anything on her $25,000 a month. Lauren might want to double check who the ex's lawyers are. But just research them a little bit, and you might come to a very different conclusion about their modus operandi. She's got lawyers around her that, let's just say, have a kind of Michael Avenatti smell about them. And where's Michael Avenatti today? Is he in a federal prison for extortion?
Robert, do I know who her attorney is? It's public knowledge.
Yeah. You can look it up. I'll let people look it up on their own. It'll be a fun little research project.
All right. Well, with that said, people, that's as much gossip as you're going to get out of this. On
the non-disclosure agreement aspect, that is commonplace. It is commonplace for it to not have a time limitation. Unlike a non-compete, almost every non-disclosure I've been involved in, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of non-disclosure agreements. They rarely have a time limitation. Lauren Southern seemed to think I guess hers had a time limitation. That not most don't. That's very rare, especially in the Hollywood industry. And that's the 2 aspects of a non-disclosure agreement are, well, what's the employer's perspective? The employer's perspective is they don't want the access, giving somebody access to their life and their business to lead to their business being disparaged because of that access that the person previously had. But in the celebrity influencer world, it takes on a whole new dynamic, because one way to get money is to get access to a celebrity of any kind, and Crowder is a celebrity in his own way, and then say, and then monetize that access by sharing every secret you possibly know, every embarrassing piece of information you possibly know. So in the entertainment industry, it is universal for there to be a non-disclosure agreement, and quite frankly, quite reasonable. I had to advise one celebrity client how not to violate an NDA concerning another celebrity client once, and and finally got them to do it. They even had this crazy scheme for how they were going to get it, but c'est la vie. So that is very standard and has nothing to do with free speech. It has nothing to do with the First Amendment. It has to do with, I'm going to give you access to intimate information about my business and life. I don't want to have to pay the price for that and you monetizing it against me. That's a very reasonable business negotiation. Jared's complaints on that are unreasonable, untenable. And it's also clear he's been violating it left and right. I mean, he's just been ignoring the law entirely on non-disclosure agreements. And Crowder extraordinarily has not sued him yet. So the pitch and portrayal, I think people that have either political disagreements with Crowder, personal antagonism towards Crowder, or negative experiences in the divorce process from a woman's perspective, or negative experience with the legal system, are projecting that onto Crowder's case in a way that just doesn't fit Crowder's case. And I've said previously, I have no doubts Crowder might not be the easiest person to work for. But that's entirely different than the reasonableness of an NDA. Well, it's an eminently reasonable requirement for someone in his position.
It sort of goes back a little bit to the Lizzo thing. Like, you can't go work for Lizzo and then say, oh my goodness, then we had to go to a sex club in Amsterdam and eat the bananas out of someone's vajayjay. Like, Steven Crowder's got a bit of a set where they're rowdy, immature people making rowdy, immature, but insightful content. You can't just say, oh, but your name was gay, not gay Jared. What the hell do you think that work environment was going to be like? Not going to be abusive, like beating you with sticks, but it's going to be a bit of a saucy work environment. You don't get to that.
If he had any true hostile work environment claims that were separate and distinct from what the nature of that entertainment industry and their particular entertainment product was, then he would have been in a much better negotiating position. And it just seems to me like the negotiating position of both Jared and Crowder's ex-wife have been, we have secrets about you that we can share that will embarrass and humiliate you. So, and we will share those unless you give us lots of money. All right. That there is a word for that. It's called extortion.
Robert, it's just good negotiation.
Yeah, you got to walk that line, folks. People have been sued for extortion. Lawyers have been sued for writing settlement demand letters. Right. You have to be real careful. Now and then I'll get a client that'll suggest something foolish in that regard. Like, no. We can say this, we can't say that. But these people put it in writing, and I just have zero sympathy for that side of the aisle. Now, that's separate from, I do have sympathy with the discovery issues, which is, I'm dealing with this in a bunch of cases across the country where big corporations, where Lauren Southern is absolutely right, is parties with more legal means can beat the daylights out of people without legal means. That's definitely a problem. I don't know if it's this is the best example to use for that problem, when it appears that you have extortionate criminals who are mad about being exposed as extortionate criminals. But at the same time, there is a legitimate grievance about the way our legal system handles discovery. In Europe, invasive discovery is not allowed. To give an example, in many of my vaccine mandate cases, they're requiring disclosures of all their religious activities, their personal activities, their political activities, every text, email, phone call, public statement they've ever made in their lives, every social media account. And if you don't turn over any of it right away, if you object on any basis, they run to the court and scream, sanctions, 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 please dismiss the case. They make your life living hell after discriminating against you. One of the worst abusers is 3M. 3M is one of the scuzziest, sleaziest companies. It's getting up there with Tyson Foods. In the kind of attention I'm going to pay to it in the future, because it's harassing ordinary working class people that it discriminated against, that they just admitted in deposition testimony they had no basis to discriminate against them. And in fact, it appears 3M targeted Christians to discriminate against especially, and that they would recognize other religious objections, just not Christian religious.
I'm sure they would recognize trans rights and trans preferences over religious preferences.
The law firm defending these scuzbags is also a scuzzbag law firm with a long anti-labor history, but they have a big diversity, equity, and inclusion promise. I mean, what a bunch of frauds. So and I have long argued, California, it's very robust. Outside of California, the law is very undeveloped or underdeveloped. That yes, you do have privacy rights against discovery. And because whereas you have no rights of privacy or other things in terms of private negotiation, the Constitution doesn't apply to your contracts. It does apply when the court is enforcing discovery. That's a different animal. Or when the court is enforcing a non-compete. I mean, that's how a lot of the racially restrictive injunctions got struck down, is because courts couldn't enforce them. And so there's differences between the two. When state action is, every court action is state action. That's the important thing to remember. This is why defamation law becomes a First Amendment issue, because that's the court making an order. That's using state power. So in the context of them seeking discovery from him, he was objecting on privacy grounds. Well, both under Texas law and under federal law that's applicable to Texas courts, you do have a robust right of privacy that almost nobody is litigating. I'm one of the very few lawyers in the country. Now, I'll tell you, you'll run into hostile courts. Now, I'll also say it looks to me like Crowder's discovery requests are all reasonable. The burden, the issue in privacy is when they're asking for information that is private, that isn't reasonably related to the case. If it's reasonably related to the case, the very nature of the underlying case allows it. And a 202 petition in Texas is a very broad discovery process. It allows you, and it appears they weren't, it doesn't appear to me they were seeking every communication he's ever had. If they were, then that's way too overbroad. He can fairly and legally and constitutionally object. What they are entitled to is to look at communications concerning Crowder to any of those people, but not if it doesn't concern Crowder. They both have the non-disclosure agreement, but also would be relevant to Crowder's separate civil lawsuit against his ex-wife, lawyer, family, and others who are involved in the alleged conspiracy to extort him. And again, Crowder's people have produced written proof of what looks to me to be clear evidence of a conspiracy to extort Steven Crowder involving not gay Jared at some level, or at least trying to get him involved, and the ex-wife. And she's seeking money she's not legally entitled to by her own admission into these public. I mean, come on, folks, never in writing. Come on, this is not hard.
We're going to move over to Rumble now. The link is in the pinned comment. But before we go there, to read the Rumble rants to everybody, and I'll go through these quickly while everyone makes their way over to Rumble. Viva Fry on Rumble. Getting this in early so you have a chance to notice. Made this for Barnes, maybe for the after party. I'm going to screen grab that. That is from Finboy Slick. I'll see what that is. Rivka, the Jade Gamer. Easter is the resurrection, the sign that his death was sufficient to blot out our sins. Messianic is Christian Jew. Then I'm not, I don't know. We'll see what I am in 10 years. Denise Ann 2. David, Easter is happy. Today Jesus is risen. As he said, his prophecy has been fulfilled. Rejoice in today's promise. Mickey, 82% of all statistics are made up. Bada bing, bada boom. Bablisa, Ariane. Happy Easter, David, to you and your beautiful family. Thank you very much. Harry Toe 2. I thought that said Harry Joe 2. That's because I got Joe Biden. I'm cooking cut up hot dogs for dinner to celebrate. Okay, see, that's what I have to read the whole thing before saying it out loud. Joanna Pinn. The community make it, the community taketh away. Lee Guy says, have you seen Judge De Thomas in Levy County, Florida, who is attacking the Constitution? He tried to gag the entire internet. Someone mentioned that last week. I haven't seen that yet. I'll look for it for tomorrow. Happy Resurrection Day. Everyone says Agape Novels. The rebirth of this nation is upon us. I'm excited. So praise the Lord for all he has done and for what is about to happen. Barbisa, Ariane, for all the doomcuffs in the chat boosting your nut rumbles. Retired Geek in Ontario. I know in Ontario many years ago, my employer tried to get us to sign a non-compete. A bunch of us took it to the labor lawyer, and he told us that the law cannot prevent an employee from seeking a job. True. Panther AI. I'm of the opinion that non-competes are not a bad thing provided they pay for the time I can't perform the job I'm trained to do. If I can't work for 2 years, I want to get paid for those years. The argument's going to be you made that money up in the job that you had leading up there, and now you don't get to capitalize on both ends. Nancy Mace is cute and has a body on her. Remember when she said she was late to the prayer breakfast because her boyfriend wanted to... What the hell's going on? Sweaty Zeus, you're trying to get me in trouble here. Sweaty Zeus says crime hasn't plummeted. They're just counting convictions, which they stopped, which we have to learn how to refute their lies to win the people. Mr. Giggle, I'm sure Jared actually has a non-compete because he started a social media management company 2 months after he left Crowder. I think he violated the non-solicitation clause trying to get clients. There you have it, people. All right, what we're going to do now?
I'm sure he did. And to my knowledge, Crowder didn't take any action. So it's like there are legitimate criticisms of non-competes, legitimate criticisms of non-disclosure agreements. They're just not applicable in the Steven Crowder case. And there's people that are rallying to the side of Jared and the X and other people who are just making a mistake in doing so.
Well, they
in
see
my
it. They
opinion,
yeah,
they're going to end up. They're going to end up on the side of the Michael Avenattis of the world. Bad place to be, folks.
well, it's a perceived underdog. They see, Crowder as the big bad
and there's
boogeyman.
some underdogs that are actual underdogs, and then there's the Stormy Daniels and Michael Avenattis of the world.
All right, we're ending on YouTube. Get your butts over to Rumble if you're watching this tomorrow. I'll put up the entire stream. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com. Viva Fry on Rumble. Ending.